So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are very excited that you have joined us in this session, the Women Empowerment at the Forefront of Sustainable Development session. My name is Agnes Mirembe from Uganda, and I'm happy that I'm going to moderate the session this afternoon. But before I start, I just want to request the speakers to join me at the front, please, and then we shall get started. Yes, so I just want to request, because we are so scattered, politely can I request us to move closer, please? If you do not mind, I just want to humbly request you to come a little closer, please, in just a minute. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you so much. So, before we get any further, I want to share with you the objectives of the session. And I will be sharing the structure of the session here shortly, but I just want to request that we all come closer, please. And before we all get started, I just want to encourage us to get our headsets because we shall have some speakers, some presenters doing their presentation in Spanish, so we may need them. We may all need to use them if we must. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the objectives of the sessions, the objective of this particular session will be to sensitize the male and female participants, including leaders and decision makers in cooperatives, and reinforce their ability to advance women empowerment and gender equality in the cooperative movement, but with a particular focus on the following aspects. One, we want to ensure that we promote enabling environment to support women's empowerment and gender equality within cooperatives and through the cooperatives, making sure that the cooperatives and the business model is more attractive to the women, including by promoting female entrepreneurship. This session will approach gender equality with emphasis on how policy agendas and the cooperative model can support processes encouraging self-empowerment for all, especially the women, particularly the women. So best practices from all over the world will be actually showcased today, and we need to make sure that these will showcase the intrinsic nature of the cooperative model and how it offers a powerful approach to achieve inclusive economic development and empowerment of women. However, it should be interesting also to understand from you and from the speakers who are going to present here in this session, within the cooperative and outside the cooperative movement, new ideas on how to better shape the cooperative movement to further support women's empowerment and how we could cooperate in partnerships with the aim of reaching the same goal. So by the end of the session, these are the outcomes we foresee. We want to identify and share key lessons, best practices to support women's empowerment and gender equality, which should be replicated in our context. And then we want to make sure that we outline main recommendations, in particular, political ones, to be addressed to the decision makers, both within the cooperative movement and beyond. So it's going to be interesting to compare the macro-level agendas described during the high-level panel and the macro-level realities of the case studies to understand and reflect what the gaps are and how we can bridge these gaps. Before we get started, I just want to let us know that we are going to have, like I mentioned, 2 levels of presenters. We are calling it a micro-level perspective, and 2 presenters are going to come on stage to deliberate on what changes and actions needed to ensure a better enabling environment that will support gender equality and women empowerment. But just after they have done that, we shall also have a micro-level engagement that will showcase inspiring and successful stories from different countries on how the cooperative model can better support women's economic and political participation as a contribution to the SDG 5, which is gender equality. So we are expecting to have such a fruitful session. But before we get started, I just want to invite us to watch a video. It's going to be a short introductory video displaying ICA members from all regions expressing what gender equality means to them. So welcome, and let's watch the video.
Gender equality is not an ingredient. It is actually the recipe for a sustainable world without poverty.
Gender equality is about easy access to resources and opportunities for both men and women.
Gender equality to me is to have opportunities based on my skills, not on my gender.
Para mí, equidad de género es, o mejor, no es masculino ni femenino, es procurar que entre hombres y mujeres alcancemos niveles de igualdad en todos los aspectos de la vida.
Gender equality is dealing harshly with patriarchal tendencies.
Women can have more equal opportunities in the cooperatives. That's the best way for them to appear in the economic part of the society and be more active in what they want to build around them.
I believe that gender equality is one of the assumptions for building a fair, inclusive and sustainable society.
Gender equality means that by following the Cooperative principles, everybody has fair and equal access to resources to improve their livelihoods.
Switching from a classic duties time conciliation to a cooperative sharing of it in the family and at work is the only way, in my opinion, to improve.
Equidad de género para mí es igualdad. Tener las mismas condiciones hombres y mujeres.
We need to empower women to come into the forefront and support the cooperative movement, get their voice raised.
To me, gender equality means access to capacity building, to resources, to decision-making positions. Gender equality means democracy, freedom, justice, participation, inclusion in economy and society.
For the past 25 years, the ideas of this great man, Friedrich Wilhelm Reifeisen, have both been motivation and guideline in my professional work to support the cooperative development.
No doubt that he was important, but don't forget that without the help of his daughter Amalia, his ideas would never have spread around the world. Therefore, and in the tradition of both, it is our mission to work for the future of the cooperative movement.
Regardless of gender, nationality, and origin.
Gender equality is a right, the right to have the same opportunity as men to get a good job, to reach economic independence, to share family care and responsibilities, to valorize our skills, to play important role in our society.
Gender equality is equal opportunity for men and women, access to education, and ultimately equal pay.
cooperatives is one of the appropriate model to implement or to get the gender equality.
We can do more and help the nation to build more success eventually.
¿Qué es equidad de género? Poder convivir en igualdad de derechos los hombres y las mujeres para lograr un planeta mucho mejor.
We are going to also hear some case studies from the micro-level presenters explaining and letting us understand better what gender equality means. But to start the speakers, we are going to have two speakers from the high-level panel, and I'm very excited and happy to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Maria Iguen Perezia. So she is the president of Gender Equality Committee, ICA. Please come and join me. Before she comes to present, please allow me to share, to let you know about who she is. She's Maria Iguen Perez. She's a lawyer, specialist in administrative and cooperative law and socio-economic evaluation of social projects. She is a leader of the Colombian cooperative sector in Latin America for almost 20 years, holding positions in cooperative integrative organizations, such as member of the board of the Cooperative of Las Americans, executive director of the Colombian Association of Cooperatives, president of the board of directors of Comova Cooperatives Business Group. In these positions, she has given priority to the issue of gender equality, currently being the president of the Gender Equality Committee of the International Cooperative Alliance and vice president of Regional Gender Equality Committee of Cooperative of Americans. Maria, would you please join me here for the speech, please, for your presentation.
Para mí es un gran placer poder estar aquí. Yo voy a hablar en español. Bueno, para mí es un gran placer estar aquí, acompañarlos en esta conferencia mundial. Muchas gracias a Ruanda, a sus autoridades, a todos los que hemos viajado hasta este lugar hermoso, en el cual nos ha recibido muy cálidamente, donde vamos a hablar sobre un tema muy especial, que es un tema de futuro, de desarrollo sostenible, de buena convivencia, de buen vivir, como es la equidad de género. Y desde el Comité de Equidad de Género de la Alianza Cooperativa Internacional, pues queremos que cada vez este tema sea un tema más central, más trabajado, donde todos podamos compartir nuestros conceptos y, digamos, dar una visión amplia de lo que significa la equidad. Y hoy en este trabajo de esta tarde, pues vamos a ver unos ejemplos muy ricos, muy bonitos de lo que significa el trabajo en equidad de género y cómo desde las cooperativas podemos acompañar ese trabajo.
Okay. Are you going to make your presentation? Thank you so much, Maria. We are going to, thank you so much. We are going to further engage after we have heard from our second speaker, who is Memory Zonda Kachamba. I just want to request that Memory, you join me. You join us at the high. So she's the executive director for Feminet, and that is African Women's Development and Communication Networks. Memory Zonda is a Pan-African feminist, gender and women's rights activist. Memory grounds her work in feminist principles and an intersectoral feminist framework of analysis. She is the Executive Director at the African Women's Development and Communications Network, and that is known as Feminit. She was recognized by the politicians as one of the top 100 women in gender policy. Recently, she was nominated as one of the members of the Global Beijing Plus 25 core group. She is a dynamic leader in movement building, feminist organizing in policy advocacy, and networking with over 18 years experience in development, developing, managing, and implementing programs, promoting women and girls' rights regionally and globally. She is a seasoned cross-cultural thought leader and a strategist bridging national, regional, global, and women's rights networks with policy leaders. Memory has extensive frontline experience implementing campaigns, policy advocacy initiatives, advancing human rights, gender equality, economic justice, sexual rights, transformational leadership, and ending violence against women and girls, and sustainable development. She is passionate about dismantling and disrupting patriarchy and systems that oppress and deny women's dignity. She has an MPHI in water resource management, focusing on women leadership in water sector, and a BS in geography and environment science. She is also a board member of the award-winning UNESCO Feminine Student Support Network, Trust in Zimbabwe, which assists young women in tertiary institutes in fighting gender-based violence. She also sits as the gender and women's leader on the Zimbabwean Transitional Justice Working Group. Prior to joining Feminit, Memory was the gender and women's empowerment technical specialist at the International Youth Foundation. While serving at the International Youth Foundation, she developed a gender strategy for ZimWorks, a youth project with a particular focus on mainstreaming gender and young women as part of its employability and entrepreneurship program. Memory was also the executive director of the Women's Trust, an organization working on women leadership and governance. She also accomplished 8 years in the UN, in different UN Women, UNIPA, in various capacities. She has also done consultancy work on developing organization gender policies, undertaking gender assessment and research. As you can see, she's the right person to share about gender equality. Can I invite you, Memory, to the podium, or you prefer to speak from the right?
Thank you so much. That was too elaborate. Yeah. I thought you just, but it's such a privilege to be here and within the cooperatives movement. I'm coming from the women's movement, and there's a huge intersection. And I think it's really great that we're able to work together, but also to share ideas on how we can advance the gender agenda. So I'll just speak just briefly on why it's important for us to be talking about gender equality in this moment now. We are looking at 25 years of the Beijing Declaration, which will be next year. Next year, 2020, will also mark the 5th year in implementing the Sustainable Development Goals. So we are in the right moment to be talking about issues of gender equality across all sectors. And I just want to start by also saying that this year, Equal Measures 2030 came up with what was called the Global Gender Equality Index on Sustainable Development. And this is an index which was looking across all the indicators of the Sustainable Development Goals, all the gender indicators. And out of they looked at 123 countries. And of all those countries, it was clear that none of the countries are on track in terms of achieving gender equality. So if we really look at it and our goal for sustainable development 2030, we are all off track. Some countries, of course, they are more advanced in terms of certain indicators, but when you look across all indicators, it is clear that there's no country which has yet achieved gender equality. So I think we need to even go beyond in terms of just looking at the numbers, just also looking at some of the averages, but making sure we are looking at some of the structural issues that make it impossible for issues around gender equality. And I also wanted to just maybe emphasize that we are currently in a state where the issues around advancing gender equality and women's empowerment have received a lot of backlash. So we've made a lot of progress over the years, but we've also seen a lot of attack in terms of most of the rights that women have made progressively. So it's really important that we actually start discussing and also seeing how we can collectively make sure that the gains that we have made are preserved forever and there's no pushback in terms of the gains that we have made. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Memory. Yes, thank you so much. We are going to have a session to engage them. If you have any questions to ask or seek clarity before we actually get into the other session. But I just want to engage Maria. I just want to ask Maria, because she mentioned that they have case studies that they want to share. In the video that was shown, we saw different people expressing what gender equality means to them. If you could help also, if you could help us understand, what's the difference between gender equality, gender equity, and women's empowerment?
Bueno, estos son tres temas diferentes que definitivamente complementan la vida de lo que significa el protagonismo de la mujer en la actividad y en este caso en la actividad cooperativa, que es en el ambiente que nos estamos moviendo. Una cosa es hablar de equidad. Equidad es buscar darle a cada uno lo que necesita para realmente lograr una posición de igualdad. Necesitamos entregar aquellos instrumentos que permitan a las mujeres realmente llegar a ese punto de anhelo, a ese respeto por sus derechos humanos, a esa posibilidad de empoderamiento. Y la igualdad es realmente tener la posibilidad, en el criterio que hemos desarrollado dentro del comité, es tener la posibilidad de que mujeres y hombres podamos llegar a las instancias de poder, a desarrollar nuestra personalidad, a contribuir con cada uno de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible, a tener todas esas posibilidades que durante mucho tiempo le han sido negadas a las mujeres. Necesitamos tener equidad cuando se nos entrega, digamos, esos instrumentos como son la educación, la autonomía económica, la posibilidad de ejercer democráticamente nuestros derechos políticos, la posibilidad que tenemos de que sean respetados nuestros derechos humanos. Y una vez tenemos todo eso instrumentalizado, podemos hablar de igualdad de género. Pero realmente hoy en muchos de nuestros países y de nuestras organizaciones apenas estamos empezando a dar los pasos de lo que significa la equidad. O sea, estamos entregando la oportunidad, los instrumentos, las capacidades para que las mujeres podamos lograr ese equilibrio que durante 3.000 años de historia moderna nos han sido negados. Pero que yo también digo, tengo otra frase que digo que durante los últimos 70 años hemos logrado, con la venia de los caballeros, hemos logrado lo que los hombres en 3.000 años. Entonces, esa carrera loca en la que hemos ido avanzando, hemos tenido también muchos logros. Hemos tenido unos logros, hoy las mujeres estamos educándonos, estamos ingresando en la universidad, en los países en desarrollo somos más las mujeres las que ingresamos a las universidades que los hombres, pero también tenemos unas mujeres que están atrás de nosotros, que no han tenido nuestras posibilidades, unas mujeres que están, y unas niñas que necesitan educación, que necesitan salud, que necesitan empoderamiento, que necesitan tener capacidad de ejercicio político. Y eso es lo que buscamos en todos los ámbitos, en el ámbito privado, en el ámbito de los derechos humanos, en los que buscamos cómo reaccionar ante muchas de las inequidades que hemos tenido para poder lograr por fin un momento en el que encontremos la igualdad, esa igualdad entre mujeres y hombres que tanto anhelamos y que en el movimiento cooperativo tanto la hablamos. Porque en sí los principios y valores cooperativos lo que han ayudado es, al ser el primer modelo económico que realmente aceptó a las mujeres en igualdad de condiciones que a los hombres, dio esa posibilidad de que nosotras nos empezáramos a pensar como sujetas de derecho y actuantes en la economía, y buscar esa autonomía económica que nosotras queremos tener. No en vano, en el movimiento cooperativo la membresía es por lo menos en un 50% ocupada por mujeres. Esa membresía que tanto dinamiza nuestras economías cooperativas, pero en la medida en que vamos avanzando en el ejercicio al interior de nuestras cooperativas y que buscamos efectivamente tener ese empoderamiento y ese ejercicio político al participar en las elecciones que tenemos al interior de nuestras asambleas como dueños de la cooperativa que somos, necesitamos nosotras cada día realmente ser más empoderadas y ser más visibles políticamente para que realmente podamos ejercer el poder, porque si no estamos en las posiciones de liderazgo va a ser muy difícil realmente estar empoderadas al interior de nuestras organizaciones y de la vida misma, porque uno como actúa en la cooperativa termina actuando en la vida civil, en la vida democrática que tenemos en nuestras comunidades. Ese sería como los rangos de lo que es la igualdad, la equidad y el empoderamiento de las mujeres al interior de las cooperativas. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Maria. That was really elaborate and well articulated. With memory, you mentioned that it's all countries are behind in achieving the gender equality indicators. And so I know for sure by the end of the session, we shall probably get some recommendations and actions that we can recommend. But just let us understand, why is it important to take gender account? Why is it very important to take gender concerns into account in the political agenda?
So one of the things that's very important, and I think Maria already mentioned, is that issues around gender equality are based on power. So when we look at the cooperative sector, for example, it's always important for gender issues to be taken up, and to also start looking at how do you start linking what is happening at the cooperative micro level with what is also happening at the macro level, and what are the gender implications. So one of the things that we see is that women face multiple barriers. Most of them are very systematic in terms of just entering into the space for allowing them to have access. It could even be access to finance, in terms of how the systems are structured. But I just wanted to say that you find that most of the contribution that women are actually making, it's not recognized in the formal sector. I think we heard this morning that close to 70% of, especially on the African continent, is in the informal sector. And the majority in the informal sector are women. So one of the things that we find is that their contribution within the GDP, for example, is not recognized. And in most cases, because of this not being recognized, even if they are paying taxes, those taxes are not responding to their particular needs. And also understanding that when we look at the broader macroeconomy, what is happening at the cooperative level, if there's any fluctuations in terms of inflation, for example, is going to affect the cooperatives. So having that understanding and that linkage of what is happening at the political macroeconomic level is very, very important. And I just wanted to share an example of some of the work that we are doing at FemNet. We have what we call the African Feminist Academy, African Feminist Macroeconomic Academy. So what we have realized is that we find that within the women's movement, the understanding, articulation, and participation within the macroeconomic sector is very minimal. So we bring together different feminist activists, we call them feminist economists, where we start really looking and breaking down how the monetary financial systems are working. And so far we have looked at issues to do with taxation, we've looked at issues to do with debt, issues to do with illicit financial flows. We do know that on the African continent, there's a lot of financial flows which are actually going out, which can be used for development. We are also looking at how the orthodox mainstream economic model is possibly not working, particularly for women, but also for society. I think where the presentation, the keynote speaker today spoke about the increase within the gap between the haves and the have-not, the increase within the inequality gap. So what we are doing as an example is bringing together the different activists from across the movement to be able to start articulating these issues and coming up and saying, how do we, why is it important for us to be involved in the debt issues? So when we are talking about gender equality concerns being a political agenda, when we look at how our countries are continuously borrowing at the expense of us, so it's a concern for us, and there are a lot of implications. When we look at how the international financial institutions are using, for example, public-private partnerships as a model for development, where in some cases it is beneficial, but in some cases it is actually pushing out and increasing the debt level because we are always going to pay for that. So those are the macro level issues, and within those there are gender concerns, and it's important to have the participation of women deliberating, but to also have a gendered analysis where you start breaking down how do these policies affect women, how do they affect men, and at the different levels and at the different layers. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Memory. And you, Maria, you still, in your response, when you defined equity, you mentioned that equity is giving each one what he needs to reach a level that really allows for conditions of equality and to have access to opportunities that each one of us require. So how can we better promote national and international agendas supporting gender equality? What could be the possible agenda points to improve gender equality?
Bueno, pues lo primero que hay que hacer es, digamos, dar autonomía económica a las mujeres. Yo creo que ese es uno de los principios fundamentales para poder lograr la equidad. Dar educación, dar autonomía económica a las mujeres para poder permitir que ellas realmente terminen siendo empoderadas. Cuando una mujer tiene autonomía económica, cuando tiene ingresos, cuando tiene capacidad de responder por todo aquello que implica su entorno, su familia, porque nosotras siempre estamos en función de quiénes están a cargo nuestro, de quiénes están alrededor nuestro y de cómo podemos ayudar a que ese núcleo salga adelante. Las mujeres no pensamos en un criterio individual. viene en nuestro ADN, no importando de qué continente seamos o de qué país seamos, todas de una u otra manera estamos buscando siempre cómo mejorar la calidad de vida nuestra y de los que están en nuestro entorno. Necesitamos educación, necesitamos que los planes de educación sean cada vez más inclusivos, más completos y de mejor calidad, porque no se trata solo de que baje el analfabetismo, hay que bajar los niveles de ignorancia. Y entonces para eso necesitamos mujeres y hombres obviamente, pero mujeres que somos las que estamos en la desventaja, mujeres que realmente estemos educadas para poder estar empoderadas, para poder hablar en términos económicos, en términos políticos, en términos de conocimiento de lo que significan nuestras organizaciones. Necesitamos tener autonomía económica, porque una mujer que no tiene autonomía económica está en un alto riesgo de quedar en una trampa, yo la llamo así, una trampa en la cual nosotras nos podemos quedar si hay un factor de violencia o de riesgos para ella, porque como hay un factor de dependencia, cuando uno no tiene independencia económica es muy difícil tomar decisiones, es muy difícil poder lograr tener ese empoderamiento del que tanto hemos hablado muchas veces las feministas y que queremos que efectivamente nosotras seamos visibles ante la sociedad. Nosotras somos la mitad de la sociedad, pero no somos visibles en la mitad de la sociedad en muchos de nuestros países y de nuestras organizaciones. Entonces, si las mujeres estamos bien educadas, tenemos autonomía económica y tenemos un empoderamiento que nos lo va a dar la formación y la autonomía, un empoderamiento que ayuda a que a su vez tengamos autonomía política para ejercer unos derechos políticos, vamos a tener una sociedad que compite y que vive en unidad con nuestros compañeros, pero que vamos a poder reclamar esas posibilidades del buen vivir que tanto hemos reclamado y que nos merecemos porque hacemos parte de este mundo y pues no solo somos la mitad del mundo, sino que le damos vida a la otra mitad. Entonces necesitamos realmente tener estos tres elementos para poder vivir mejor.
Thank you very much. So we need to unite with the men. And memory, you said you're so passionate about dismantling and disrupting patriarchy. So just let me understand, do you think is gender equality a concern for men? Do you think so?
Yes, I knew that was coming. So absolutely, I think men have a role to play. And when we talk about dismantling patriarchy, what we're actually referring to is a system that legitimizes the oppression of women. So if men are advancing that system, then when we're working with men, it's not like we are against men, but we are saying we are against a system that is an oppressive system. So you find within the cooperative sector, it was interesting today, I was having a chat with Sally from Kenya, and she was telling me that she is the first chairperson of the credit of a SACCO, the credit union cooperative, for 40 years. And if you really look at most of the cooperatives, they are male-dominated. So you find there's men who dominate, like really old men, and they are not willing to relinquish their power. The way they perceive, the perceptions of women, even if women are at a board level, they expect them to serve tea. So these were actually experiences where Sally was sharing with me, and I was thinking, we see within the women's movement, the feminist movements, we are way, 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 way ahead. So there's a bit of a disconnection with some of the issues that we thought, I think by now, men should be actually looking at women as equal partners. So sometimes men feel women are threatening them, but in instance that women, I don't think they'll be threatening. They just want a rightful place, because you find the majority of the cooperatives, the people who are making the contributions, the people who are serving, the people who are contributing, there are women, but the women are not in the decision-making positions. So in terms of shaping the policies, they are not at the table. And I think there's a famous saying that if you are not on the table, they are probably on the menu. So I think one of the things which should be actually considered when you talk about having men is issues around equity. Let's have the balance. Let's start with quota systems. Let's get the women on board. And women are not asking or begging to be on the board in terms of decision making. They deserve to be there because they are also equal contributors. And not only equal contributors, but they work as hard and they should be treated equally. So men definitely should be making space, because it's one thing to be in a position of privilege, to actually, first of all, understand that you are privileged, but to also make space and room for women, and to make sure that the environment is also enabling, so that decisions are not being made at the boys' club, in the clubs. You know, by the time you get to some of these meetings, decisions have already been made. So it has to be really, really inclusive. It has to make sure that the policies are very clear from the onset.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Memory and Maria. I just want to open the discussion to the floor for just 2 questions. We are going to have a detailed discussion session after all the panelists have made their presentations, but for now, I can have only, yes, a hand just to the first 2, the lady in green, and then the lady in white, and the lady, just 3 of us. And then we shall get the rest. Can we have them? Okay, thank you so much. Please, could you tell us your name and probably a cooperative or the organization you're working for before you ask the question?
Hello, I'm Carrie Onyancha. I'm with Land O'Lakes, Venture 37. Running a project here locally in Rwanda and then also in Malawi. And we recently just completed a gender analysis here within the cooperative sector, particularly the ag sector. And one interesting finding, they talked a lot about economic violence toward women, which in particular can be things like they're not getting paid for hours that they spend working. They're not having access to household income, even though they're serving roles in their household sort of earning potential. So I'm wondering if you have any experience with approaches for mitigating issues of economic violence and how we can help our female member co-op members to overcome that issue.
Okay. Let's take the second and third question, then we shall have responses from the speakers.
Thank you very much. My name is Tepsi Nsewane. Okay. I come from South African National Apex Cooperative, which is in South Africa. Is it fine if I'm seated, or you want me to? It's okay, because we're women, eh? We have a privilege. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I must echo that, Madam Zondo, you have actually made mention that all countries are off track as far as women advanced empowerment is concerned. And I want to say 2030 is just around the corner.
Use the mic.
Okay. 2030 is just around the corner. And we would have failed ourselves and our girls if the status quo doesn't change. I can give examples of politically, for instance, we had Ellen Johnson as the president of Liberia, and she was, we also had George Weah, who took over that position. So a woman's position was taken over by a man's position. We also have Joyce Banda in Malawi, whom her position was taken by Peter Mutharika. And in my own country, where I come from, South Africa, we just came back from elections. And instead of electing a woman president, we went for a man president. Now, what is the problem with us as women? What is actually our sin? Economically, how many women are occupying CEO's position, for instance? I'm sure it's less than 10%. If we have to allocate land, women are given minute sizes of land, whereas men get a huge land and with mechanization. Now, where is actually the problem? Program director, I'm actually inspired by the very woman in the Garden of Eden who was a co-manager to his husband. I am talking of Eve, by the way. Even the snake itself recognized the power that Eve had. That is why the snake approached Eve vis-a-vis Adam. So women, we need to wake up. We need to smell coffee. No one will do things for ourselves. We need to collaborate, stand up, and do things for ourselves. Time for ice cream is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before you actually ask a question, Memory, in addition to, sorry, I didn't get your name. In addition to her submission, yesterday during the exhibition, I know that the coffee cooperatives, I had a discussion with them. I think they are the ladies, and I'm glad they are present. And they told me that they have, one of the cooperatives is a women-led cooperative, but then the lady had to invite the gentleman to explain the details of the cooperatives because the man, apparently, is the chairperson of the women-led cooperative. So you definitely have. You have to help us out. Can we get the last question?
Yeah, my name is Nomvula Makhoso. I'm from South Africa. I'm not coming from a co-op. I'm coming from a government department. And my function is to support cooperatives and SMMEs, and I'm also responsible for women, youth, and people with disabilities. Maybe just to add on what you are saying, Program Director, that in my line of work, I would be having a co-op that is woman-owned, coming to my department for support, and then they are bringing a man with, this man is not even a member of a co-op, he's not even in the board, but this man knows everything about this co-op more than the women. Even the business plan that they are having has been developed by this man. So I'm adding on what Memory was saying about, and I think Maria also spoke about education. Educating women to know what they are all about, to know our worth, how much are we worth, and what power are we having, because we think if I'm called a chairperson, it's enough. It's not enough. You have to chair, you have to lead, you have to take charge of your responsibilities. But coming to the countries that the study, the gender index reports, it's true, countries are not compliant. But talking about my own country, we have very beautiful policies. Even our constitution is clear about women empowerment. In fact, we are actually talking 50-50 in all positions. But that is written on good papers. In practice, we are seeing something else. We still have to battle it out. Even the budgets in the department, the budget that is aimed at women empowerment, is almost non-existent. You have to scratch and, pull in some resources from other programs. So we have to talk to governments, You know, as much as we as cooperatives can push and push, but governments are the ones that are controlling even the education system, the curriculums. You know, we need to say, to what extent are we empowering women so that they understand their role in the transformation of the economy? It's not enough to be a board member. You have to see to it that you are not only empowering, like what you said, Maria, we are not only empowering ourselves as as individuals, but we have our families, we have our society, we have our, even at churches, we are in the majority, but the board members are men, you know. So I'm also saying, what is wrong with us?
What is our sin?
What is our sin? To what extent are we supporting memory if memory is standing for a position? Are we going to vote for memory or are we going to vote for Peter?
Okay. Thank you very much. I know that we shall have more time to engage, but I'm just going to request Maria to kickstart the answering just in under 1 minute, 1 minute.
Bueno, en un minuto. Bueno, yo insisto mucho en el tema de la educación, porque definitivamente en nuestros países, en América, en África, en Asia-Pacífico, en Europa, o sea, yo creo que no hay un lugar de la tierra que se libere de la obligación de dar educación. Habrá unos más adelantados que otros. Y las mujeres necesitamos creer más en nosotras mismas. Parte de lo que hablaban sobre los temas de votación, cuando las mujeres se postulan, hay un nivel de exigencia máximo a la perfección de ese candidato, en este caso de esa candidata. Le revisamos las mujeres y los hombres todos los datos de su hoja de vida, de su capacidad académica, de su conocimiento, de su ejercicio profesional, de su desempeño social. Hay una líder feminista en mi país que dice que las mujeres no nos miramos, sino que nos revisamos. Y cuando hay una mujer empoderada que se atreve a ser candidata a un cargo público o interno en una cooperativa, se le revisa absolutamente todos sus aspectos. A los hombres les tenemos un nivel de exigencia menos, porque ya a ellos los educaron para el liderazgo, para ejercer actuaciones de poder. Eso va innato. O sea, nosotras somos las que estamos despertando hacia ese mundo. Entonces necesitamos nosotros concientizarnos nosotras, porque la mayoría de las veces somos las que más votamos. Las mujeres hoy estamos votando más que los hombres. Entonces nosotras tenemos capacidad para lograr la elección de ellas, de las valientes que se postulan. Y necesitamos generar lazos o vínculos de solidaridad con los hombres, porque ellos son nuestros mejores aliados. Yo creo, y aprovecho la pregunta porque creo que es muy importante trabajar con ellos, y este auditorio de alguna manera revela que estamos haciendo un proceso de sensibilización, porque aquí hay muchos hombres, que no es usual en un panel donde hablemos de equidad de género que hayan tantos hombres, y de verdad les doy las gracias y los felicito por estar aquí y por escucharnos, de verdad. Necesitamos, como tengo poco tiempo, entonces antes de que me digan ya, necesitamos nosotras tener la visibilidad de las normas. En muchos de nuestros países hay políticas y hay normas que favorecen los derechos de las mujeres. Lo que necesitamos es hacerlas valer, es tenerlos siempre presentes, y que los hombres y las mujeres lo tengamos tan presentes que se puedan cumplir siempre. Los trabajos gratuitos que hacemos las mujeres, las contribuciones gratuitas que nosotras hacemos que no se valoran, apenas hoy algunos países, mi país por ejemplo, Colombia, en las cuentas nacionales tiene el aporte que hace la mujer que trabaja en su casa a la economía, y lo valora dentro del Producto Interno Bruto. pero eso no se ha visibilizado de la manera que debiera ser. Existe la norma, está en las cuentas, pero eso no se ha visibilizado como debe ser, porque nosotras las mujeres, cuando nos dedicamos al hogar, hacemos ahorros en salud, en medio ambiente, manejamos un montón de variables micro y macroeconómicas que nadie se da cuenta, pero que estamos contribuyendo a la economía de ese país. Estamos haciendo que nuestro país y el futuro de nuestro país, que son los niños y los jóvenes, tengan cuando decidimos, o las que deciden hacer eso, tengan un hogar estable, tengan una protección, ¿cierto? Pero también necesitamos que se cuantifique esos trabajos de cuidado que hacemos en nuestros hogares y en nuestras comunidades. Nosotras necesitamos postularnos, motivarnos a postular para los cargos de elección. Yo oía en un grupo de hombres que casi siempre son mis compañeros de trabajo, los oía a ellos quejándose porque nosotras decíamos que no había puestos para ejercer. Y alguno me decía, pero mira cuántas candidatas se presentaron. Las que se eligieron, se presentaron 3, se eligieron 3 y nosotros somos 11, pero se eligieron 3 de las 3 que se presentaron. Las mujeres tenemos también, también tenemos que hacer una reflexión y nos tenemos que postular, no tener miedo a perder la elección y volvernos a postular cuando no salgamos electas. Necesitamos buscar que digamos, esos instrumentos de los que hablábamos para lograr la equidad, esos instrumentos que se nos están dando hoy más que nunca, más que hace 50 años, poderlos ejercer para lograr los objetivos de hacer vida política, de hacer vida pública, de ser empresarias y buscar, digo yo, para resumir, buscar formación, empoderamiento, liderazgo y participación, porque si no hacemos esos ejercicios va a ser muy difícil lograr llegar a esa meta que queremos, de que nosotros, como la mitad que somos, realmente tengamos esa proporcionalidad al interior de todas las organizaciones en las que nosotras participamos. Y no se trata de ser más fuertes ni de desplazar, porque eso también a veces en nuestro lenguaje, a veces los intimidamos a ellos cuando hablamos sobre estos temas. No se trata de desplazar a nadie, se trata es de que podamos ejercer lo que en nuestro derecho tenemos la posibilidad de hacerlo. Y hay que luchar por eso, ¿sí? No estamos pidiendo un privilegio, estamos pidiendo un derecho, eso es lo que yo diría.
We are going to take this on in the afternoon, after all the presentations. We are going to have a well-detailed engagement time. So in the interest of time, I just want to... I know for sure that the question to do with economic violence has not yet been tackled, but don't you worry, we have 40 minutes after all the speakers have done. Now, like I said, the structure of the session, we now are going to get into the micro level. We want to invite our speakers to showcase some inspiring and successful stories from different countries on how the cooperative model can better support women's economic and political participation as a contribution to the SDG 5 gender equality, which we've been discussing. So please allow me to introduce to you Mr. Shadra Sekra Reddy. Reddy is the founder and chief executive officer of Adria Padria Mahil Abdul Society, which is Women Development Society. Pardon my pronunciations. So that's a non-profit and national level technical support organization with a vision for sustainable women's self-help movement in India. He has over 30 years of experience in the development sector, particularly in the microfinance and livelihood sectors, focusing on community-based model of microfinance and livelihoods. Mr. Reddy has been a visiting professor of the Cordier International Institute in Canada for the past 8 years, teaching international certificate courses on community-based microfinance in Canada, Ethiopia, and India. Mr. Reddy works closely with the government of India and the state government of Adria Padria Bilai Odish in West Bengal and on various policy issues, and he advises them on program implementation. Can I please invite Mr. Reddy on the podium?
Good afternoon. I hope everyone is still awake. Thank you very much. And I'm delighted to be here. And I want to thank the German Raiffeisen Confederation, DGRV, who is our partner for over a decade in doing what we are doing in India. I am kind of in a way sharing our experience of working with the self-help group movement in India. I do have a few slides. I hope someone is running them. Okay. Before I go on to the slides, I'll take a minute just to give you a perspective on India, which is a very large country, 1.3 billion people. And the interesting part is that 80%, nearly 80% of India's population is financially included. And that has been possible because of the self-help cooperative system that has developed in India over the past 30 years. And I must mention, because this is experience sharing and best practices, that this has also been possible because of use of technology as an enabler. I also want to mention that in India, there has been an ecosystem that has developed. One is technology. Second is the government policy, enabling policy environment by the national government, the Reserve Bank of India, the entire banking system. The third and more important, and our friends Maria Memory talked about, the women taking on the center stage. We have around 10 million self-help groups in India. So that's the kind of outreach, each group having 10 members. So 100 million women mobilized, organized into self-help cooperative institutions over a period of 30 years. So let me just show you some numbers. So a self-help group, basically a savings and credit group, though they are engaged in savings and credit and contributing to financial inclusion, the long-term vision and objective is to promote women's empowerment and to address poverty. I also want to mention that once the women have a platform of coming together, having their weekly meetings, weekly savings, weekly decision-making about who to give loan, how much to give, at what interest rate, they tend to then look at other aspects, maybe about improving local governance, maybe look at improving the public distribution system. So, in a way, coming together for accessing financial services, they're able to look at larger issues of quality of life. It may be about, are the education institutions working effectively? Are the health systems providing the health care that is needed for the poor? So that's kind of, in a way, in 3 decades or 30 years, the self-help group movement in India has made tremendous impact on the lives and livelihoods of 100 million households. So I want to mention, again, this session is about women's empowerment and how it is linked to cooperative institutions. And the self-help organizations in India are based on these most critical cooperative principles of self-help, mutual benefit, self-responsibility, self-reliance. And I'm talking about unregistered self-help groups in large numbers, 10 million of them. Of course, as they federate into self-help group federations at a cluster level, they do register themselves as cooperatives. But at the primary level, they are informal organizations, but by policy recognized as entities that could access bank loans from the financial institutions. In terms of the agencies that have worked, again, this is again part of the ecosystem development. There is government, NGOs, and banks working together with the women self-help groups in the country. And I mentioned about the ecosystem. The Central Bank of India, 30 years ago, nearly, maybe 27 years ago, created this enabling policy of an informal group allowed to have a bank account in the name of the group and allowed to access loan which is collateral free, and third, allowed to have loan without specifying the purpose. So the group decides for what purpose the loans are made to the members. So that's the kind of policy environment that has been created. Just to give you some numbers, I don't want you to be just only thinking about numbers. The 10 million groups with around 120 million women and their households, we are talking about they having their savings of $10 billion US. This is their money, saved week after week, month after month, for over 20 to 30 years. There are self-help groups which can be called as accumulating savings and credit groups, which have been functioning for more than 20 years. And they continue to meet and engage in savings and credit and look at issues about empowerment, justice, access to many other services. And they have been able to leverage bank loans. And today, as of March 2019, the loan outstanding is around $12 billion US. So in a way, they've been able to leverage much more than what they have been able to save cumulatively over a period of 30 years. And the poster on the side, you will see the group is ours, the Federation of Self-Help Group is ours, so the management and control must be ours. That is part of the empowerment. And we believe that it's not about just having access to financial services, but having the capacity and the capability to run and manage that institution efficiently as a financial entity. So it's not about poor people having poorly managed institutions, which unfortunately happens to be an issue about our cooperative institutions across the developing world. But in India, I must say proudly that these women-owned self-help organizations are very efficiently managed and very efficiently governed through this kind of a multi-tiered structure. In terms of what we have been able to do with the partnership of DGRV, the German Raiffeisen Confederation, for over 12 years now. We have Andreas Kappes here, who heads the international cooperation of the DGRV. And our partnership has been very exciting, and I'm sure we will do more in the future. We have focused on the financial literacy as an important component. I think our friends talked about education, but I think financial literacy, economic literacy, enterprise management skills are equally important for women. How do they run their institutions in a democratic manner? What kind of rating and auditing can they have? Because these self-help groups, being informal groups, legally they are not required to have an audit or a grading. But because they are financial entities, they have a system what we call as self-regulation. So they have their own community auditors, meaning these are the self-help group members who are trained to be auditors and who are involved in doing the auditing and rating of their own groups. They also conduct elections because they have to ensure that these institutions are run democratically, and they, especially when the federations are registered as cooperatives, they do the legal compliance in terms of conducting annual general body meeting, filing their returns, and making sure that the audits are done effectively. So the legal compliance is an integral part of that self-regulation system. And these federations, in fact, you must experience when they conduct their annual general body meeting, it's like a celebration where they give awards to best performing self-help group, the best performing federation of the self-help groups. So today, we have 1 million women leaders. They have gone to other countries. They have gone to Africa. They have gone to Asia. They have gone to even other states within the country to train other women. This is the peer learning process, so that empowerment is not just about doing for yourself. Empowering is about how do you support and enable other women to learn from you and can get inspired. So each of these women have a story to tell and can contribute to women taking the center stage. In terms of what has happened, these 12 years of our partnership between DGRV and APMAS, of course, we're not doing it on our own. We work in partnership with Government of India, with the state governments, and in partnership with the women self-help groups and federations and the banking system. So what we have seen in this period is women are willing to and able to take responsibility for leadership in running their own organizations, not only on financial aspects, because access to finance is only a necessary condition, but using that finance for livelihoods is critical, or for improving their quality of life. So the women have demonstrated their willingness and the ability to manage their own cooperative financial institutions. Legal compliances are now happening across India, and I'm still talking about 10 million of these self-help groups at scale. There is a tremendous amount of transparency and accountability. When we see a local politician visit the general body meeting of a federation, they say, oh, we have a lot to learn from these women's organizations. They conduct their meetings so systematically, so effectively, and ensure that the agenda is completed, and never the meeting ends without completing their agenda. So there is a fair amount of transparency and accountability. And the sector-owned control, or what we call as self-regulation, is now becoming part of the policy of the Government of India, so that any informal or formal cooperative institutions engaged in livelihoods or finance are able to take the self-regulation. So the farmer producer organizations, in India now we have around 5,000 farmer producer organizations or producer companies coming up, and in cooperation with DGRV, we are developing a self-regulation system for the farmers organizations as well. And finally, I can say with a great sense of satisfaction and confidence that this entire women's self-help movement of the informal self-help groups, their federations, have tremendously contributed to women's empowerment over the past 30 years, and still counting. It's not over. These are institutions which are intergenerational and continue to exist. So in a way, the Indian example of the self-help movement and the new generation farmers organizations that are emerging, and mind you, some of our farmers organizations, we are promoting as all women farmers organizations, because a lot of times the moment you talk about agriculture, you think it's all men. But we believe women do 60 to 70% of agriculture activity. So we are promoting farmers organizations, building on the experience and learning from the Women's Self-Help Group program, farmers organizations of the women, and self-regulation being a centerpiece of that experience. So you are most welcome to come see what is happening. We do conduct programs under what is called South-South cooperation. You are most welcome to visit India, to understand how the self-help groups and the farmers' organizations are contributing to women's empowerment and improved quality of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reid. And we're actually looking for an opportunity next time to have the ladies come and present and make the presentation themselves. So that opportunity, I know for sure, will come. No. Yes, so our second case study is coming from Argentina, and it's going to be made by the president of the Gender Equality Committee, and that is Ms. Gilda Wind. Mr. Gilda Wind is an Argentinian cooperative leader and feminist. She is the president of the Cooperative of Energy and Consumption in Santa Fe, Argentina. In relation to this function, she covers other important positions in the area of cooperatives integration in Argentina, such as Vice President of the Federation of Electrification and Public Works and Services of Santa Fe. Most importantly for this session, she is the president of the Gender Equality Committee of Cooperative, the National Confederation of Cooperatives, and secretary of the Regional Committee of Gender Equality of Cooperatives of the Americas, region of the International Cooperative Alliance. She's also engaged in the political field as the candidate for the national and regional legislature. As a master's student at the University of Brascory on socio-economic entities, she coordinated and carried out several research projects on gender equality, social and community development. She's also renowned by different public and private actors at national and regional level as an expert and advisor on gender equality, the social economy, and the local development. We want to take the opportunity to welcome you, Ms. Gilda.
Bueno, buenas tardes a todos y a todas. Les doy tiempo para que se pongan los auriculares, ya que voy a hablar en español también. Ahí estamos. Bien. Bueno, antes que nada agradecer muchísimo a la Alianza Cooperativa Internacional por esta oportunidad y a COP Europe también, que contribuyó para que yo pudiera estar acá acompañándolos, presentando un poco lo que venimos trabajando en Argentina y aprendiendo muchísimo de estas experiencias tan inspiradoras que vamos a ir escuchando a lo largo del día. Bueno, yo estoy acá, los voy a ir pasando. Gisela es como se pronuncia el nombre, que es difícil, en representación de mis compañeras del Comité de Género de Cooperar. Ellas son las pioneras, digamos, las primeras compañeras que conformaron este Comité de Género en el 2007. Esto se dio a raíz luego de un congreso internacional de cooperativas en Argentina y entendiendo que el 10% de mujeres en los puestos de decisión en el sector cooperativo no era algo muy justo, entonces desde ahí, con el apoyo de la Alianza Cooperativa Internacional y en una primera etapa de WeEffect también, que contribuyó a conformar un grupo de mujeres empoderadas y desde ahí ir trabajando en el resto del sector cooperativo. Nosotras siempre, yo me defino como feminista también y hablamos de reconocer el trabajo de las que estuvieron antes cuando uno va creciendo en los puestos, así que bueno, por eso es también que están ahí para que las vean. En 2007 se empezó con este trabajo. Bueno, como les decía, Cooperar, como para poner un poco en contexto, es en la Confederación Argentina de Cooperativas. En Argentina el movimiento cooperativo es muy diverso, abarca muchos sectores de la economía. En mi caso provengo de una cooperativa de distribución de energía eléctrica en el interior de la provincia de Santa Fe, a unos 300 kilómetros de Buenos Aires, donde distribuimos la energía a unas 5.000 personas de una pequeña población. El resto del movimiento también es así, lo que es energía y sector público está muy desarrollado en nuestro país. Argentina se destaca en la región, por lo menos a mi entender, por ser a veces impulsora, digamos, de buena legislación en relación a lo que es la participación de mujer en puestos de dirección. Tenemos una buena ley de cupo femenino en términos legislativos. El año pasado se aprobó la paridad de género en puestos a nivel nacional, digamos, de diputados nacionales. Es muy buena en comparación con otras de otros países porque permite que realmente las mujeres lleguen a los puestos. Esto hace que cada tanto algún grupo de legisladoras también mire un poquito el movimiento cooperativo y vea la diferencia que hay entre la base, como decíamos antes, la participación de mujeres en la membresía y después en puestos de dirección. Y a raíz de eso, muchas veces desde las legisladoras presentan proyectos que tienen que ver con cupo o cuotas, como también se le dice en el sector cooperativo. Eso les quiero contar que genera un revuelo, lío en el sector, porque bueno, no todo el sector está de acuerdo con este tipo de medidas de acción positiva, pero sí en lo que hay consenso es en que el modelo cooperativo, como lo veníamos escuchando hasta recién, es el mejor aliado para la participación de la mujer, para el empoderamiento de la mujer. Entonces, si el modelo nos permite, digamos, o puede ser el mejor aliado para la participación, ¿qué es lo que pasa? Que las mujeres no estamos en los puestos de decisión de ese modelo. O sea, el problema no es el modelo, el problema es la sociedad, ¿no? El sistema, como decían antes mis compañeras. Entonces, en función de eso empezamos a pensar cuáles eran esas brechas invisibles, o sea, que no están en el modelo cooperativo porque es abierto, de participación abierta, todos podemos ser socias, todos podemos ocupar espacios, pero después cuando vemos las estadísticas somos poquitas. Entonces, bueno, empezando a analizar eso, desde esa pregunta entendimos que, bueno, que había que buscar la respuesta cooperativa a esa pregunta. Al mismo tiempo les comento que en el 2009 se promulgó en nuestro país la ley 26.485, que es la de protección integral para prevenir, sancionar y erradicar la violencia contra las mujeres. Nosotras entendimos que hay muchas cuestiones y entre ellas una podía ser la violencia de género, digamos, esas barreras invisibles que a veces no explícitas, pero que sí que nosotros les mencionamos como micromachismos o actitudes que por ahí funcionan como barreras para que las mujeres participen. Había que enfocar ahí, ver, bueno, si eso estaba presente o no en el sector cooperativo, al igual que, bueno, también hablaban recién de los cuidados, la triple jornada laboral, o sea, en qué momento una mujer que a lo mejor trabaja, después cuida a los hijos, limpia la casa, y en qué momento puede ir a participar de la actividad política de la cooperativa. Entonces empezamos a analizar cómo nosotros, tomando una fortaleza que tiene el movimiento cooperativo en Argentina, que es la capilaridad territorial, o sea, en cada pequeño pueblo de nuestro país hay una cooperativa o una mutual. Eso lo tomamos como una fortaleza. Y cómo desde esas pequeñas cooperativas o mutuales en todo el país, nosotros podíamos pensar alguna estrategia para contribuir al cambio que hay que hacer en la comunidad y no estar esperando que cambie la sociedad y para que después cambie el sector cooperativo. Bueno, pensando en esto, en cómo optimizar eso que teníamos, una de las propuestas tuvo que ver con hacer una alianza con el Estado Nacional, con el área de prevención de la violencia de género a nivel nacional, y en esa alianza lo primero que pensamos fue una estrategia que fue cooperar contra la violencia. A ver si... Bien. En esta alianza y en esta estrategia que fue cooperar contra la violencia, tuvo que ver con un momento muy especial que se dio en Argentina en el 2015, que fue el movimiento Ni Una Menos. No sé si ustedes escucharon algo al respecto, pero fue en varios países de la región, se dio En el caso de Argentina, a través de un caso de violencia de género muy difícil, digamos, y que la sociedad le pareció que ya era como un límite, muchas mujeres en todo el país, a lo largo y ancho del país, salieron a la calle el 3 de junio de 2015 con el grito de ni una menos. La verdad que fue algo muy fuerte para el país, porque todas las plazas del país, en todos lados, estaban llenas de mujeres. Mujeres que por ahí no eran activistas, no eran feministas o no eran de participar en este tipo de marchas, pero que realmente fue una situación límite para la Argentina, para las mujeres, y decidieron dar ese paso, salir a la calle. Desde ahí todos los años se hace, bueno, esta es una imagen, este es el Congreso de la Nación Argentina, es la Plaza del Congreso, y la verdad que había muchísimas mujeres movilizadas. Entonces, tomando también ese contexto, nosotros pensamos desde Cooperar cómo también tener una opción, una herramienta, una respuesta ante esto que estaba pasando en nuestro país, ¿no? Bien, a raíz de eso pensamos, veníamos de una herramienta que era Cooperar contra la violencia, que era lo que les comentaba de esta alianza con el Estado, a través de la cual promovimos la denuncia gratuita, digamos, de las situaciones de violencia a través de nuestras estructuras, digamos, de publicidad o las facturas de consumo, por ejemplo, las cooperativas eléctricas o de agua, promover este 144. Pero después decidimos que había que ir un poquito más allá, y ahí fue donde pensamos en esto que es básicamente lo que hoy venimos a presentar, que es el Pacto Cooperativo por la No Violencia de Género. Este pacto es un acta, digamos, de compromiso. Yo no le voy a leer todos los compromisos, pero están ahí, están a disposición. La verdad que fue una forma de incorporar la discusión o visibilizar la violencia de género al interior de las cooperativas. No, ya que es una cuestión que ya no es de la vida privada de la mujer, sino de la vida pública, cómo nosotros desde las cooperativas podíamos tomar ese tema e incorporarlo. Diseñamos son 9 compromisos que están a disposición después en nuestra página web también. Y la verdad que lo que pasó fue que nos superó, digamos, la iniciativa de lo que nosotros teníamos pensado, porque empezaron, hoy son más de 45 entidades cooperativas y federaciones las que han firmado el pacto. Cuando uno firma el pacto puede pensar que queda, digamos, en una letra o en un papel donde uno se compromete a llevar adelante determinadas cuestiones, y nosotros lo sabemos que a lo mejor es políticamente correcto sacarse una foto para un dirigente, firmar y decir que estamos apoyando, pero la realidad es que cada vez que la cooperativa decide dar este paso, por lo menos incorporamos el tema en la reunión de consejo. Eso hace que a veces hay cuestiones que están ahí, que pasan en las mismas cooperativas, que tienen que ver con violencia y que no se tratan. En el caso de las cooperativas nosotros tenemos 2 dimensiones, entendemos, la dimensión laboral y la dimensión política también. Entonces hay cuestiones que están reguladas en relación a la violencia de género en el aspecto laboral por las leyes laborales, pero la cuestión política interna de las cooperativas no está regulada por eso. Entonces es como que de esta manera nosotros le damos un canal, digamos, a cualquier cuestión que también pueda pasar por ese lado. Me gustaría, como para ir resumiendo, porque ya me pusieron el cartelito por ahí de los 5 minutos, hacer hincapié en uno de los puntos que tiene que ver con el protocolo de prevención de la discriminación, bueno, ahí está en inglés, de la violencia de género. Este protocolo está dentro de los 9 puntos, de los 9 compromisos que nosotros tenemos dentro del pacto, pero creemos nosotros que es el más importante. Estamos contentas porque hace más o menos 10 días en Cooperar aprobamos el protocolo para cooperar. El protocolo incorpora la forma en la que uno debe tratar cuando hay una situación de violencia de género en la cooperativa, no solamente dentro de la cooperativa, sino con alguna mujer miembro de la cooperativa que pueda tener una situación de violencia en su hogar o en su contexto. Lo regula. Nosotros creemos que es no solamente una herramienta para las mujeres que están atravesando por una situación de violencia, sino también una herramienta para nuestras organizaciones. Nosotros vimos que a raíz de que estos temas están más en agenda también, cada día son más públicos los problemas de violencia, no se ocultan, por lo menos en Argentina estamos en ese proceso. Salen a la luz y las cooperativas se encuentran con que no saben cómo afrontar estas situaciones cuando no están cubiertas por la legislación. Entonces, bueno, para nosotros esto fue muy importante porque nos da un marco. Para ir terminando, sí, en función de esto van apareciendo algunos desafíos que tienen que ver con que Argentina es un país muy grande, son muchas las cooperativas que quieren firmar el pacto, que se comunican con nosotros, que nos piden que vayamos, que presentemos ahí en las fotos pueden ver algunas capacitaciones o espacios de sensibilización que hacemos para promover el pacto y promover cómo las cooperativas pueden contribuir a combatir, digamos, la violencia de género y por ahí la falta de recursos o esto también la falta de profesionalización, si uno quiere, porque nosotras somos dirigentes, yo soy responsable por la energía en un pueblo de 5.000 habitantes y esto es como que uno, bueno, lo hace cuando tiene tiempo, cuando puede y eso nos limita porque hoy podríamos tener una red de más de 45 entidades trabajando en conjunto y articuladas en función de esta problemática, pero bueno, no tenemos tal vez las herramientas en este momento para hacerlo. De mi parte les agradezco muchísimo la atención, agradezco mucho a mis compañeras, como les decía antes, a la organización Cooperar y a mis compañeras del Comité de Género de Cooperar y a todos ustedes por su atención. Y creemos que esto es una política que se puede implementar en otros países. De hecho, en Uruguay hace más o menos un mes ellos aprobaron la Alianza Cooperativa por la No Violencia de Género, que es un documento bastante similar. Yo entiendo que puede haber cooperativas que ya tengan este tipo de políticas dentro de sus organizaciones, pero también quiero que entiendan que no en todo el mundo y no en todas las cooperativas esto está sobre la mesa. Muchas veces se tapa y muchas veces las cuestiones de poder y de violencia, que a veces son micro y muy pequeñitas y poco visibles, son las que funcionan como las verdaderas barreras para que nosotras podamos estar ocupando los lugares que podemos y fortaleciendo el movimiento cooperativo. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much, both Gisela and Ridi, for showing us some of the case studies that you have implemented both in India and Argentina that are promoting enabling environment to support women's empowerment and gender equality. I just want to give us an opportunity to further engage Ridi and Kezila. I'm just going to accept 2 questions from the audience, just 2 questions in the interest of time, because like I said, just after here, we are going to have a short break, and after the break, we shall have 2 other presenters from Kenya and Turkey, showing good case studies from Kenya and Turkey, and then we shall have more time to discuss. So 2 questions from the audience. Okay. Is there a hand that I'm not seeing? Okay. Yeah. Gender equality, that we have to give a man, yes, please, a gentleman, an opportunity to ask. Here, please. Here is the mic.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Nyaga from Kenya, where we are accused of staying in the cooperative leadership. I mean, women are not engaging. One thing is, this thing is cultural, that you women, you're asking yourselves, what is the problem with us? But the problem is, when a child makes a mistake, you tell her or him that wait for your father. So they, from the beginning, they know the fathers are the leaders. Another thing is that in our cooperatives, since most of them are agricultural, it is men who own land. So women are shy to come and fight because they don't have title deeds. Therefore, the problem is you women, you are the majority in every situation, in the villages, in the constituencies where we elect people. Therefore, I think you are your own enemies. Thank you very much.
We shall see to that. But thank you so much for your comment. I just want to invite Maria to ask our speakers a question, and then Memory will also ask a question.
Yo le quiero hacer una pregunta a Gisela. En la implementación del protocolo contra la violencia de género, se debieron de haber presentado dificultades o obstáculos a superar. ¿Cuáles fueron esos principales obstáculos y cuáles han sido los resultados después de superarlos? Y un minuto.
Bien. Sí, yo creo que uno de los principales obstáculos tiene que ver con la formación, algo que ya venimos charlando durante la tarde con la capacitación, pero más que nada con la capacitación específicamente en lo que es perspectiva de género, en función de nuestros compañeros varones. Entonces, por ahí las discusiones se ponen un poco duras porque nosotras a lo mejor venimos ya con una formación y entendemos algunos conceptos, por ejemplo, de violencia de género que tiene que ver con la violencia hacia las mujeres, y por ahí cuesta llegar a acuerdos porque se trata de incorporar violencia en términos generales, en lo que es violencia intrafamiliar o violencia de hombres y mujeres. Bueno, ese tipo de cuestiones conceptuales creo que son las más difíciles porque, bueno, uno está en la gestión y en las entidades también tiene que ver el día a día y a lo mejor no se puede dedicar tanto tiempo a la formación específica en perspectiva de género, ¿no? No sé si soy clara con la respuesta, creo que ese puede ser uno de los principales problemas, pero todo se fue dialogando y se fueron llevando adelante los acuerdos.
Can we also have Memory ask Mr. Reid a question?
I just want to say it's very impressive to see that the women in India have a 10 billion savings. It's almost as equal as some of the GDP of some African countries. So that's really, really impressive. But it also indicates that women are net contributors to the economy if the economy is actually responsive and is using a model that can be responsive to the society. So my question is on, if you look at the Asian model, I don't know whether it is, you can say that women are able to make more decisions through cooperatives. I'll contextualize it. In some of the African countries, you talked about tradition. There's a lot of steeped tradition in terms of ownership of assets. So one of the things that we find in most cooperatives is that women will buy assets which are used in the house, or maybe they get money, then it's consumed in the schools and all those other things. So they are constantly borrowing, so it's more like a cycle, and there's that burden. They do return, but they're constantly borrowing. But you find in Asia, from what I've heard in some societies, is that they actually buy things like jewelry, which gives them more autonomy in terms of making a decision so that they can sell it whenever they want. They don't put it in a goat or in chicken where they actually have no control, or it becomes more like the household. So I just wanted to, just in a minute, to find out whether is that a contributor to the cooperatives model in Asia if you compare with what we see in the African continent?
Thank you. I think one of the issues about the cooperative system is generally the cooperatives tend to be large. When you have 500,000 members, decision-making becomes difficult and women's participation becomes difficult. So the Indian self-help group model was an innovation to address that challenge, so that 10 to 20 women come together, informal self-help groups, And these are all women self-help groups. In Africa, you have what is known as the village savings and loan associations, but they tend to be mixed groups of both men and women. And so even if you have 10% of the men, they tend to dominate, even 1%. So I think in India, what has been done is, over the past 30 years, the women self-help groups have been formed. These are homogeneous groups of only women, similar socioeconomic status. And so they gain confidence, they gain experience, they get into decision making, they have access to financial services. So in a way, they get recognition and in a way, space in the household from their husbands and family members. So as they gain that kind of understanding, when they move into the cooperative financial institutions, which may be a federation of self-help group or a larger cooperative of both men and women, they then tend to play an active role. You're right, some women do buy jewelry, but we have women who are landless but still being part of the cooperative. So I think in India, given an opportunity, women take that opportunity very quickly. They don't hesitate. So today, women coming together into self-help groups is on an autopilot mode. You don't need to have someone promote the groups. So many women see that coming together into a self-help group has access to government services, can have access to financial services. So in a way, it has been tested and the women have tasted success. And so now any sphere, whether they go into a farmers organization, micro-enterprise organization, or health or education committees in the villages, or in urban slums, they take that space. So I have seen a lot of self-help organizations in Africa. There, I think the training capacity building is somewhat limited. But in India, I think over the past 30 years, tremendous amount of investments have been made in building capacities. And women have taken advantage of that and taken the leadership position. For example, now in India, the Panchayati Raj system, which is about local governance, 33% of the seats are reserved for women. In some states, 50% of the local bodies, the positions are reserved for women. So as a result, they get elected and they have the experience of already being part of a self-help group, of a federation, accounting, financial management. I found this in my 30 years experience. Women learn very quickly managing accounts and finance compared to the men. So they seem to have a special knack for managing finance. And they do that very well at the household level. But once they come out into the platforms of women's organizations, they take that in the federations or in any kinds of cooperative organizations. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Can we give them a round of applause, our first speakers? Yes. We now want to have a short break of just 20 minutes.